Here you will see the process we call the milling. It's a process I love, a process I consider very valuable and try to include in every workshop I do if I have the time and space. I like the variety that it gives to the workshop, tempo and structure. Whereas in the open sentences, we had people sitting still and talking. Here, by contrast, in the milling, we have people walking around and not talking. And that very movement loosens things. And the fact of not talking, the silence, is of inestimable importance. Because what you see it does, of course, is that it relieves people of the need to be thinking about what they're going to say. They're brought into contact, but they're brought into a kind of contact that's very expectant and attentive, where you're not distracted by the point you want to make. You can do it with any number. You can do it with a group workshop of 8 people or 80, and I've done it with over 100, as long as the voice carries. The timing of where you put it in the workshop can be any time, but I kind of like to put it early on. Sometimes it's an icebreaker or right after the introductions. People have been sitting still, they've been sitting during the overview and the introductions. Get them up and move them around, and they can just stand and come up close to people they've been hearing from across the room. It can also be, I often put it at the beginning of that second part of the work of honoring our pain for the world, because the process of standing in recognition of the wondrousness of being alive and of this person, the circumstances that you're facing, opens you to the depth of apprehension of our situation, and also depths of gratitude and respect that are very opening, I find, to leading into the despair work, the honoring our pain for the world. And then, as you will see, the facilitator guides with spoken words that give cues for what the people can entertain in their minds as they view each other. The facilitator makes clear that he is the only one talking, and so everybody is quiet and listen to that. And these guidelines of what you can say, these cues, are provided in the book, Coming Back to Life. This also permits, as you can imagine, a lot of variation in what is said according to what the group is, who the people are, and what the setting is. And I can bring in then, as you can, situations, elements of the situation that these people are in, whether it's a given locality or neighborhood or enterprise or business or activist organization, the kind of challenges they're meeting, the kind of dangers they're facing. What's carrying you as facilitator here, and I know this will arise spontaneously, is a sweetness of regard, that your primary thrust coming forward in you as you lead the milling is one of appreciation. And you're inviting everyone to share in that appreciation of what we are capable of bringing forth in this dangerous time. Okay, now, in the work that reconnects from the beginning, there has been an old sort of staple exercise that involves us moving around and not talking, and we use this in different forms, and some of you have led it yourself, and it's called the milling. In Germany it's called Mitten im Leben, but you imagine yourself on a hurried street, and you're like, I'm just hired you as a lot of extras for a movie I'm doing, on Times Square. So you come out and you mill around, and you can let your eyes, you need to let your eyes go out of focus a little bit so you won't bump. And if you find you're all going in one direction, turn and move back upstream, so to speak. So now you find yourself in front of somebody and take their right hand in yours. And if you're looking for a partner, put your hand up there. Okay, just as an opportunity to be present in a way that talking and listening even doesn't allow you. Just, well, whole body presence. That you are standing in the presence of a person who has made the choice to come here to this intensive, taking 12 days out of their life. And that's not easy to do. They've made the arrangements, they found the money, they've broken free of commitments, they have made it here. And they're doing this not for the sake of suddenly increasing their income generating capacities or getting rich quick, but to enter into training for taking part in the healing of our world. Just notice that. Here is someone who, and in the processes yesterday and in their life, have given words to their love for this world. And there's that love for this world that has brought them here as one of the reasons, at least, that they're here. So feel your respect for the choice they've made. And bow. And take your leave of them in any way that feels appropriate. And we will continue to circulate. The milling goes on. And again, you find yourself in front of somebody. And you might take both their hands in yours and raise your hand if you're looking for a partner. Okay. You're looking into the eyes of someone who knows very well what is happening to our world. The person in front of you knows what's happening to our brother-sister species, to the animals, to the factory farms, knows what is happening to the forests and the seas, has some idea. They live with that knowledge, and they do not look away. That's why they're here. You're looking into the face of someone who knows what happened 60 years ago. What great military power dropped nuclear devices on 2 great cities. And they've lived with this knowledge ever since, at some level of their consciousness. And at some level of their awareness, they know that we're preparing to do it again, only thousands of times worse. They live with this knowledge, and they have not let it close them down. They have not let it kill their life, their love for life, and their hope for life. And that's why they're here too. So feel your gratitude for the spirit and the big heart of this person. And bow to them and take your leave of them in any way that feels right to you. And now we move on again. And again, you find yourself in front of someone. And again, this time, take their right hand in yours, and as soon as you grasp it, close your eyes so that all your attention can go into the sensation of touch. What you are holding is unique and it is alive. You might take both your hands to flex it and turn it and feel it. Notice with great curiosity, almost as if you had come from outer space on a research mission to understand the dominant species on this planet. And you look at this amazing appendage. Notice the intricacy of the bone structure and the subtlety of the musculature. Yes, just with your eyes closed, you can feel that. Notice that this is not encased in heavy armor or padding. That protection has long since dropped away in earlier life forms. Notice the soft, sensitive padding on palm and fingertips. Ah, you see, this is an object for knowing the world as well as for doing. And our world has known itself in a particular way through this hand you now are exploring. This human hand of planet Earth. Open your awareness to its journey through time. Long evolutionary journey. You know, they say it was a fin once in the primordial seas where life took form. Just as it was again in the mother's womb in this lifetime. And all the adventures and forms that followed on that are in an unbroken sequence. Learning to reach, push up on dry land, and then to reach, to climb, and see how that thumb curls to meet the fingers, making that opposable thumb and an opening just as the right size for a branch, strong enough to hold its weight. Gift of grandmother monkey. This hand that learned to weave grasses into baskets, to plant seeds and harvest them, to make fire and carry it on the long journeys through the ages of ice. To build silos and temples, to build flutes and stringed instruments, to learn herbal remedies, to build sailing ships, to carve great sacred figures, to build bombs and gas chambers and do open heart surgery. All of this is the capacity of this human hand of planet Earth. And open your awareness to the journey of this hand in this lifetime. Ever since it opened like a flower when it came out of the mother's womb. Clever hand that learned so much. Learned to reach for breast or bottle. Learned to write its name, to tie shoelaces, to strike out in anger, to reach out in acceptance and guidance, to give pleasure. You know that there are people who, living now, who know that they are worthwhile because of what that hand has told them. And that there are people living now who will go into their dying knowing that they're not alone, because their last touch will come from this hand. And you know, there are people who will be guided through harsh and scary times that are coming by this hand. So experience how much you wish it well. Want it to stay strong and intact. Give it any last messages. And then slowly, slowly withdraw. And don't open your eyes until you've turned and walked away. Okay, we'll just continue. We just have one more stop in our milling. And you will one more time. Actually, I think that you're moving too slowly. This is some, put one hand, your left hand behind you. And what you're going to try to do is touch the right hand of another person before they touch you back.
I'm holding my hand out.
No, before they, right. You try to touch them and not let them touch you.
Oh, with the right
Okay. Now, and very solemnly continue to walk with great dignity and composure. And one last time, you find yourself in front of another being and take both hands in yours. Well, you make yourself present to this person. Be aware of, take them in. This is an earthling living at the time of the Great Turning. And if you lived any time after the early 21st century, you'd wish you could see that face. Because this is the face of someone who really is taking part in the Great Turning. And it's not easy, and it involves everything they think and feel and do. And it means being open to some very scary stuff. And it means trusting the beauty of life. And it means opening up to the power of the great sacred earth and letting those beauties shoot through in a way never thought possible. You are looking at someone taking part who doesn't know yet all that is in store, what they will do as part of the Great Turning to a life-sustaining society. Despite all the dangers, despite the toxins and the poisons and the contamination of this time, despite the forces and systems arrayed against them, they're carrying the banner of what? Life, just life, for the future. And they will be called blessed by the future ones. And you can tell them how glad you are for their lives. In any way you feel right. At the close of the milling, we often invite participants to simply sit down together in the last pairing that they made, to sit in silence for a few moments, and then to share as they feel inclined to do. This has been a very rich experience, and you don't want them to rush off and let that dissipate. You want that to sort of gather for them. And you will have noticed how my co-facilitator slipped out of a pair that he was making to allow all the participants to pair up. You will have noticed also that I was speaking extemporaneously and that I wasn't reading. Now you can read the stops, they're written out for your inspiration in the book, but it's particularly strong if you can not have your nose in the book as you're leading this. You might want to write out some stops on cards and just as reminders to hold in your hand. You will find that you are bringing in fresh inspirations of the moment that seem particularly appropriate. I also want to tell you that I have been using in recent years this format of the milling as a way to lead the group in the meditation that we call learning to see each other, which is based on the Buddhist practice of the 4 Brahma Viharas, or the 4 immeasurables, or the 4 abodes of the Buddha. And these are, as you know, loving kindness, compassion, joy in the joy of others, and the great peace or equanimity. So the combination of moving around as we do in our normal life and then meeting someone and holding this thought in the mind, a thought that is articulated by the facilitator as you face that person, can be very powerful. Now, of course, it must be mentioned, the question of eye contact. We're more comfortable with this in American culture than in many other cultures, such as Asian cultures. And so watch out for language. Don't use language like saying, gaze into each other's eyes. This can make them uncomfortable. And you could sort of jokingly say, this is not a staring contest. And you will have heard how I said, take in the presence of another being. And if keeping your eyes open is too risky, it's okay to close your eyes. The key here is you want people to be comfortable. Only then, when they're comfortable, are they able to open to the deeper awarenesses of the essential miracle of being alive and being alive with brothers and sisters in this dicey time.